Take one.
Yeah, so the last video we did was about the red tiger and the white tiger. And if you want to go see that, you can click the link here.
It's over there.
No, so yeah, this is just a kind of explain where we ended up with that. So the red tiger is really good for those kind of like, I would say shoulder to head high waves when it's a little weaker and you just want to go fast. And then white tiger is just overall fun board. It's pretty much as fun as a board gets.
Yeah, the white tiger for little tiny waves for you.
I would ride it on tour if it didn't look so small.
Yeah.
If it didn't look like a fun board, I'd ride it on tour. But I guess that's why we came up with the red tiger.
Right.
Yeah. So and then we have the Ghost 6.0, which was my kind of short board.
So here's how I would think of how we kind of started working on that. The new board is that it was a lot of like Rocky Point days this year. You're coming over there a lot, and you're riding a red tiger a lot. But then you'd be like, oh, it's kind of, I almost want to ride my Ghost. It's like you're just caught in between the two boards.
Yeah, but for me, to be honest, like the Ghost has always been my best board at like the small step up. A 6.2 Ghost has always been my best board for like the best version of the Ghost to me. When I would ride a 6.0 Ghost, it was always at kind of that head high to like, so 4 to 6 foot range. And the Ghost works really well, but it doesn't have as much volume and as much, I guess, planing speed as these red tiger boards. So yeah, I was kind of caught in between, and we started talking about doing the red tiger is just so fast and drivey and like 0 to 4 foot waves. And I was like, I just wish I had this board and it could hold a little more and a little more power. So we kind of started thinking of this board, I guess, which bridges the gap between the red tiger and the Ghost a little better. And you can kind of explain what we did to it.
Well, and then when we started working on it, it was like code name was the Power Tiger because you're all for more power.
Yeah.
So I guess the Power Tiger is kind of sticking, even though it sounds a little silly. It's the Power Tiger. Yeah. So exactly what John was saying. Like this board was working great up to a certain thing, and then it just felt like going to the Ghost wasn't always the ideal situation right there. Like there was somewhere just right in that mid range where it was just like, not necessarily even size-wise as much as like, it has to do with size here more, but like just more powerful.
I would say like, the red tiger is like this board that's like you're surfing like 4 foot lowers and the thing is just flying down the line and you're having so much fun. And then the Power Tiger is like you're going to surf 4 to 6 foot Rocky Point and it's just
more push,
a lot more energy, a lot more speed in it, and you're when you're going into a big frontside turn, you have a lot of speed and power. You want to be able to push as hard as you can, and you don't want to be like feeling like you're drifting at all. So that's kind of where this board came in. I just asked for him to tone down kind of some of the things that make this board really, I guess, what makes that board super fast. We just toned them down so that it would handle the speed a little bit better. It wouldn't max out.
Yeah, so the basics, let's just go through it, is comparing the two, the Red Tiger and the new Power Tiger, is essentially I started just with the outline. So I pulled in the tail. First thought is like, oh, you want to hold through turns better. Pull the tail in a little.
It's actually funny though, because I saw Tyler Wright in Australia and she's all, have you tried to pull in the tail on the Red Tiger? And I was like, no, I haven't. Do you like it? And she's like, I love it. It's insane. And then I was like, kind of gave me the idea. I was like, oh, maybe this board can be better and like a little more power. So then we
push it harder.
It kind of sparked that.
Yeah. So we did that, pulled that in, and that's something like with Tyler's boards, almost all of her other boards too, is I pull in her tail anyways because she's smaller and not as heavy. So I kind of give her a little tighter tail, which helps loosen it up for her. But so I pulled in the tail, and then I pulled in the nose too to kind of keep that area, because the Red Tiger's got a wider nose for like planing and speed, and just pulled that in a bit more. So that gives you curve overall through the whole board, which feels like as you go through a turn, it's not like projecting forward as much, where the Red Tiger, you're trying to get drive out of those turns. And then with this board, it's like it's going to do a tighter turn. It's going to fit into a curvier wave with a little less area in the nose.
And I think one of the main things of it too is that this board really rides on top of the water. The Red Tiger rides on top of the water. You're flying on top of it. This one sits down a little lower in the water, I would say. And then this one, the Ghost, is like in the water, and that's why it's so good at really high speed, because it's just in the water and you can have a lot of control. And so I think that's like, was a pretty cool thing of getting this board to sit down a little more.
Put it sitting in the water more. And then part of that too was exactly what we did is like the Ghost has that really refined rail, and then the Red Tiger has that chunky, beefier rail to keep you on top of the water.
Yep.
And then so we kind of went in the middle with this board where I pulled the rail down throughout the whole board, and the tails are similar thickness, like in the very tip, but like everything's pulled down through the whole rail, everything there. And so it just has, even if you have the same dimensions of these two boards, the new board, the Power Tiger, is going to have less volume. So it's got, even though it's the same thickness in the middle, everything the same, it would have less volume just because there's more curve through the deck and the rails are pulled down more, which helps keep it in the water more and feel like you can push it harder without it wanting to pop out.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other thing I did with this board is I just did really minor changes to the rocker through the center, like basically like under here, like in between your feet. I flattened that out just a tiny bit more, so it has a little more concave, and it's just a little bit more, just gives it a little bit more hold as you're pushing through stuff without making it kind of crazy. Just did a little adjustment, and then I added just a hair of tail rocker. Like a 16, which is, you know, in normal standards is almost nothing, but it did do something to have it feel. So that gives you that, just a little bit of extra tail rocker is giving you a little bit more like pressure release through turns. And then when you're going fast, a flat tail rocker wants to keep going straight. It doesn't want to turn. So having just a little bit more lets you go up and down a little bit easier.
And then I think one thing to note too is that, so I'm 6'2", I weigh 190 pounds. So I'm a pretty big guy. I ride a 31 liter for the Red Tiger. And then for the Power Tiger, I actually dropped down the liters to about 30.5, 30.6. And so this Power Tiger is actually pretty similar in literage to the Ghost, which I'm kind of at about 30.5 now, I think, right?
Yeah.
So
I think they're both 30.6. Yeah, 30.5.
30.5.
This is 30.6, and this is
30.6.
31 even.
Yeah.
And,
so I think that's a thing too.
But these are also the same. They're the same width. Both these boards are the same width. The Ghost is a little more narrow.
Yeah.
But these two are the same width. Just this has less foam. And this is they're both 6.0s, right? Yeah.
But yeah, so this kind of has become my all-around short board, pretty much. I ride this board most of the time, and then once it gets to that like 6 to 8 foot mark, I start riding the Ghost, 4 to 6 foot Power Tiger, and then anything like 4 foot and under, I'm riding the Red Tiger.
And it's not just size of waves too, but like types of waves, right? Like you might ride this board in a little bit bigger surf somewhere that's weaker, mushy, or like blown out.
Somewhere where you just want speed to be like, you're not generating, you want to generate speed as easily as possible.
Say like going down to like El Salvador for that or something, like those kind of waves where it's a little crumbly. These are going to be the two boards you're going to be riding. But like this thing might be on a slower day a better choice than this board.
And then another thing to note too is that for me, I ride large fins in both of these boards. And then I ride a medium large fin in the Ghost. So I drop down a fin size for the Ghost. You're just going you're riding it in waves that are bigger, you're going a lot faster. So overall, you just need less, I feel like, because you're just moving through the water faster. So less rail, less fin. I find that is better.
It seems like this board too just feels better with a little bit bigger fin for the size of rider, just because the tail's so wide. And usually you're going to be riding it in like a slower, kind of weaker wave, and the bigger fin kind of helps give you more drive, a little bit more lift. And then it's the opposite with the Ghost, where you're like going super fast and you don't want to have that lift. What else?
So far I've been riding them all in PU and just normal glass. And
these boards, like this, when you go to Tahiti, all you're going to bring, this is a whole different deal. Never mind Tahiti. Forget it. But that would be your go-to, like small Tahiti day, or no?
No, I think I'd bring, it's a good example though. Is like Tahiti, I'll probably only bring Ghosts. I'll bring a Ghost 6.0, Ghost 6.2, and then next step from 6.4 to 6.6. Just because Tahiti is so bowly and so cuppy, and even when it's small, it has so much power to it. And I think that goes to what you were saying about, it's really the type of waves that you ride these boards in.
Like even a little smaller wave, if it's really cuppy, this board would be your choice.
Yes, so
it's not like
totally
just this big a wave, I have to ride this board.
So I think a good example would be Snapper. it's real cuppy off the takeoff a lot of the time, especially when the banks are good.
Yeah.
But it can be only shoulder high, you know. But I think that board is just going to fit so good in the ball. Yeah. That's it.
Covers it pretty much. That's the Power Tiger.
Cut.